good job at it. But reach out to Hannah T. Love on her. Can't imagine what she's going through. Friends definitely can help her get through this. Um, just think about her often right now. All right, so we were gonna jump back into a series on Sunday morning that we've been going through, but I decided to, as I often do, go off the rails with that. God just spoke to me during Brother O'Leary's funeral Friday. And there's a few things I on my notes that I wanted to develop. Spent a little time that evening reading just the Bible. Not gonna lie, I sat there in bed and read on my phone and put some verses together, and just three things I observed throughout his funeral that I wanted to apply to my life and think about. I also texted Brother Brian and got his opinion of it. And the Lord just helped me develop something that I felt like we needed to think about. Who was able to attend the funeral? Okay, it's pretty incredible, right? The amount of people there. Rough count was between 460 to 500 people that came because Brother O'Leary had an impact on his life. Who here would say, not that we want to think about when we will die, but when you pass, you would say, that's the type of showing I would want for my life. Not to brag or anything, but to say, hey, God used me in a way that this many people paid their respect to my family that came out. It was pretty amazing just to see. We oftentimes thought of Brother O'Leary as goofy, Brother O'Leary, silly, and he was. He was a lot of fun, always taking pictures and stuff. But he no doubt was, I would like to think, given a standing ovation in heaven or something for what he did for the Lord. The Lord was happy to see him and thankful for him. So I wrote a couple things down I wanted to go over, this titled, A Life Worth Living. How do we have a life that is worth living? Do we have a life worth living by making a lot of money? No. Do we have a life worth living by having a lot of friends? No. Do we have a life worth living by doing our bucket list dreams, going places? No. Somebody raise your hand, be the spiritual person in the room, and tell me, what is a life worth living? Somebody tell me. Nate?
Serving God and getting other people saved.
Very good. Serving God, witnessing to people, and helping people hear the gospel and get saved. Turn to Hebrews 11, chapter 4. Hebrews 11, chapter 4. This is oftentimes captioned or titled the Hall of Fame passage. You even know what the Hall of Fame is? Like in sports, you have the Baseball Hall of Fame, the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's where they recognize the greatest players, the greatest athletes in that sport. People like Michael Jordan, Babe Ruth, all those things. Tiger Woods in golf. It means people that excelled. This is oftentimes in the Bible called the Hall of Fame passage because it mentions so many people in the Bible that were great men that the Bible recognized that people would say would be in the Hall of Fame. People like Abraham, people like Moses, people like soon-to-be Paul, things like that throughout the Bible that served God greatly. I like to think Brother O'Leary was in the modern time Hall of Fame. That he was an amazing person that God's going to honor. The single verse I pulled out, we're going to have different verses we reference, but is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 4. There's a key part in it I'm going to tell you to highlight, but Daniel, go ahead and read verse 4 for us.
By faith Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead, he yet speaketh.
That is the end of that verse is the main part where it says, though he's dead, yet he speaketh. How is somebody dead and they speaketh? That's kind of creepy, right? That would be weird. But what does that mean? The Bible doesn't mean someone's literally dead speaking to us. Somebody want to take a shot at it? Anybody? Dan?
Their testimony.
Their testimony. How do I say this where it doesn't sound weird? At his funeral the other day, Brother O'Leary was still speaking. At Jiu-Jitsu, Brother O'Leary's testimony will still be speaking at times. Will your life be in a way that when you pass, when God brings you to heaven one day if you're saved, that your life still has a ripple effect? What does a ripple effect mean? If I throw a rock in the water and I say it has a ripple effect, what does that mean? You know, water, something hits water and it gets little waves and it ripples. Does your life have that? Or do you just have a singular impact and that's it? Or does your life continue to affect people? Will your legacy affect people? Though he was dead, yet he speaketh. Funerals remind us that your life will, no doubt, preach a message. Your life will preach a greater sermon than Pastor Johnson will ever preach. Your life will give a greater devotion, a greater message than I will ever preach. Your individual life, not just anybody in this room, everybody in this room. Your life will say something about you. It might say, he was selfish. she was unkind. He was rich. She was, I don't know, was an athlete, whatever, it might be those things. But wouldn't it be better if our ripple effect is that people looked at our life one day upon our passing and said, they were a Christian, they loved people, they cared about people, they were a testimony for their God, they were a good Christian. Brother O'Leary's life said it very loud and clear that he was a Christian, that he loved people, he cared about people, and he wanted people to one day go to the heaven that he's now in. What will your life say when you're gone? So as we're talking about this, I want you to think about, if you were to die today, always sounded creepy, but if you were to die today, if God were to take you home, you never know what happened, you get a car wreck, God stopped you from breathing, something happened, it doesn't have to be anything dramatic, but right now, what does your life say? And what will your life say if he lets you live the next 40 years? Here's 3 things I learned from Brother O'Leary's funeral. Number 1, if you're taking notes, take time for everyone. We should take time for everyone that God puts in our life. It's not up here, but I wrote, take time for everyone, ... Not just your people. Not just your group, your clique, your team, your school, but everyone. I don't think there's anything wrong with cliques. I've been on this rant before. Parents come to me and say, hey, my kid doesn't feel involved. There's cliques and stuff. I don't think that's fair. Everybody has their group of people they get along with, right? Not that you have to be ugly to their groups, but I don't expect Jake to be in the group of guys that talk about basketball nonstop. You were going to be in the group that talks about jiu-jitsu, right? Somebody that plays soccer is going to talk about soccer players. I'm going to talk to outdoorsmen. But it doesn't mean that I'm ugly to the guys that play basketball or I'm ugly to the guys that do jiu-jitsu. It just means that's my group. And there's nothing wrong with having a group. I always tell teenagers that because I think they'll get a bad rep for it. But you go to someone's workplace and they talk to the same 2 people every day for the rest of your life. You see adults come to church and they sit in the same row every week. But it is wrong if that's the only people that you're kind to, you love on, you care about. We should take time for everyone. You should take time just as much for your best friend as you do the kid at school that gets picked on, or your neighbor that you see every day when you walk outside to check them down, or the lady at the fast food restaurant that gets your order. I'm not saying you're going to spend as much time, but you should care about them enough and prioritize them enough where you can be kind to them, you can share the gospel with them, you can pray for them, you can ask them your needs. There's a young lady that I know that serves at my brother's church, and I interacted with her through a place at work, and I didn't really know her from anybody. She knew me because she knew me through Miss Victoria, Justice's wife, and then also my brother. We didn't know each other, but every time I saw her, she used to always ask me, Jesse, is there anything I can be praying for? She didn't know my favorite color. She didn't know my wife's name. She didn't know anything about me, but she took time to ask me. And the next time I'd see her, she'd always ask me and say, how is your wife? Like, I saw her often when Rachel was pregnant. How is your wife? How's the pregnancy going? Have y'all found a house? And it always meant a lot for me. I'm like, she actually showed care about my life. Do people that you interact with know you care about them? To know that you may not be their closest friend, you may not spend all your free time with them, but if they called you, you would be there for them. You'd help them. You'd bring them food when they needed food, right? Come on, Jake. But do you take time for everyone or only people that you care about? Somebody said during the funeral, and it stuck with me, it said, Dan O'Leary never met somebody that wasn't worth his time. Do you look at people and say, they're not really worth my time? Do you think you have greater value? I just finished a book that I read through. I won't say I fully read it cover to cover. I skimmed it just because there's a few books I'm reading through. But Tim Tebow, the former quarterback, wrote a book that says, Take Another Look. And the whole first half of the book is talking about the value of life. We're guilty oftentimes of looking at people and thinking we're more valuable. Jake has every bit of value as me. Sammy has every bit of value as Madeline. Rachel's more valuable than all of us. But everyone has just as much value as you. Why do we look at some people and say they're not worth my time? They don't deserve for me to talk to them. It's not how God intended. I think all throughout God's ministry in the gospel we see he would stop and spend time with everyone and care about everyone. James 2:1. Go ahead and turn to James 2:1. Sammy, you turn to Luke chapter 6. James 2:1, Luke chapter 6. James 2:1, whoever has that can read verse 4 for me. Raise your hand if you got it. James 2:1. Nate, go ahead and read verse 1 for us.
Are you not then partial in yourselves and are become judges of evil thoughts?
James 2:1.
Yeah, James 2:1.
Oh, I thought you said 4.
Sorry. James
My
2:1.
brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory, with the respect of persons.
We should have a respect for everyone. Now I know there's some people that are not worth of our respect, but as far as respecting that they're a human life, right? You know, if I see somebody that's lazy and takes advantage of things and is a liar and is a cheat, I may not respect them and their character, but I should, focus, this is important, I should respect them that God still created them and put this on the earth and that God loves them as much as I do. If you have a respect for people that they're a person, that's oftentimes, I'll go slight rant here, that's oftentimes that I don't have anything wrong with video games. But I do think video games and killing people in video games has dulled us to the value of human life. You watch these movies and you see these games where people are just getting killed. I'm not against video games, but it makes us just, I don't think these people that are doing these awful things value that they're taking someone's life. In real life, I'm talking about. I think video games dulls us to that. I'll never forget when I was a teenager, we were playing a video game on like a Thanksgiving day, and it was a war game. And my great uncle walked in, which was a war veteran, and he looked at it, and I remember he went, wasn't a game when I was there, and walked out of the room. And it just, like, that hit me like, wow, I'm here playing a game, something that took him away from his family, that he almost lost his life doing for the love of our country. Again, don't go home and say, Brother Jesse said video games are wicked. They're not. But do we value human life? That's why we have an abortion problem. Because people don't value human life. Be a respecter that someone is God's creation. God didn't just have an AI bot making people. He spent time and thought about you. Thought about what he wanted you to accomplish and how he created you. Value that. Luke 6:32 and 33. Sammy.
For if ye love them which love you, what thank ye have ye? For sinners also love those that love them. And if you do good to them which do good to you, what thank have ye? For sinners also do even the same.
Loving only those who love you, there's really nothing special about that. I put that question up there, the would you rather. It's easy to love the people that love you, right? What is hard to do? To love the people that aren't kind to you, that don't love you, that are not nice to you. That's when we know we're living how Christ would have us. When we choose to love those people that aren't kind to us, that aren't reciprocal of how we want to be treated. It's easy to invest only in people like us, people that we can benefit from. That's one thing Brother Brian said after the funeral. He said, Brother O'Leary loved people and cared about people and gave to people that couldn't give back to him. And I can be guilty of that, you know. I can look at people and say, what can they do for me? What's their potential? And then if I don't think there's there, I'll be like, right? But we need to love on everybody. Christ calls us to see value in everyone. Talk to someone overlooked. Invest in people who can't do anything for you specifically. You can still invest in them. This is a good one. Slow down long enough to actually care. Slow down long enough to actually care about people. You know, sometimes we have teenagers walking in this room that are visiting. They're quiet, they don't say much, they're shy, maybe they're a little awkward. And I learned there's a story, there's a reason of why maybe they're timid. And God's trying to teach me to figure out what that person's story is. Why did God put them in this class? What is their home life like? A lot of times, sometimes people that they're just shy. That's just how they are. There's nothing that they're battling and struggling with. But a lot of times when you meet somebody like that, they're struggling, they're a hurting person. We should slow down long enough to actually care about them. A godly person doesn't just love their circle, they love people. Number two, be a witness. Your life should point to Christ. Be a witness. Your life should point to Christ. How you live your life, what you talk about, where you go, how you act, all those things should point to the gospel, point to who you are, right? You have to obviously put that on with your intelligent caps, right? What you order from Taco Bell isn't going to be like, he must be a Christian, right? But when you go through the line at Taco Bell, if you give out a track, that whole interaction, that person's not going to remember what you ordered. They're not going to remember the car you drive, but they're going to probably remember that you gave them a little card, right? You meet somebody for the first time. They may not remember your name. They may not remember what you're wearing. But if you have them a conversation with them about their eternal security, they'll remember that. Your life should constantly point to Christ. As I try to do with you, I'm being transparent. When I walked into the funeral on Friday, I looked across the room and my neighbor was standing there. My neighbor, I live 20 minutes out of town. I live over by Sammy. I had no idea why he was there. Brother Larry was a witness to him. Brother Larry knew him. You know what I immediately thought of when I saw that? It wasn't, wow, Brother Larry's amazing, or this is awesome that he's here. The Lord convicted me that he had never stepped in the building of our church because I invited him. Brother Larry's passing away is what got him to our church building. Why am I not a witness? I have access to him every day. Like every day I see him outside, give each other a head nod. I've had conversation with him. I know his name, but I've never spent time to witness to him. And the Lord convicted me and said, he should be in this building because of you, right? That reminded me, he knew Brother O'Leary through jiu-jitsu. Thursday I was getting my schedule laid out for Friday because I knew I was going to be at the funeral, so I was calling around to make sure my guys were working where they need to be. My cabinet company that builds my furniture and cabinets for the houses I build, their dispatcher that schedules their crew called me and said, hey, we got to cancel tomorrow's install. And I said, how come? She said, it's my fault. They requested time off as 3 guys that work on a truck together. They requested time off because they have a funeral to attend tomorrow. Now this is a random cabinet company in the Metroplex. So I called the lead guy, and his name's Cole, which is my brother's name, and I said, this is kind of a personal question. Are you happen to be going to Dan O'Leary's funeral tomorrow? And he said, yeah, I am. How do you know Brother O'Leary? And I said, well, he was my principal, and I goes to my church. And I said, why are you going to his funeral? And he said, man, like 3 years ago, we installed cabinets in his neighbor's house. He came over and talked to us, a witness to us, brought us ice cream, and he said, he's kept my number for like 3 years, and he sends me Bible verses like once a week. Like, that's incredible to me that he had that witness. I can't think of anybody that I've done that type of extent of caring about witnessing for, and it was convicting for me. Acts 1:8 talks about, ye shall be witnesses unto me. In our actions, in our conversations, in our relationships, are we witnesses unto him? You can jot that verse down. You can look it up later, Acts 1:8. Obviously, we know the famous verse, Matthew 5:16, let your light so shine. Is your light hitting every dark corner of the areas you go to? Or are you just a witness on Wednesday visitation? Or just when you're here and there? Or do you turn that flashlight off? Do you muffle that light in certain places? We should be just as much as a light for Christ at jiu-jitsu, at soccer, at the hunting camp, at work, whatever it might be. Are we shining that light? Be a witness. Your life should point to Christ. Your life is always speaking. There's always a ripple effect, a voice of what you're doing. Sometimes that voice is, he's in a bad mood. She's a gossip. They're not very polite. That voice should always be saying something good and wholesome for our Christianity. Ask yourself today, who around me needs Christ? Who has God put in my life that he might have put there for the sake of me witnessing to them? We had talked about a friend a few weeks ago that God had put in my life. He just gave me an opportunity a few weeks ago to share the gospel with him even more. Still battling that. You can be praying for my friend. I won't say his name because we're on live stream, but I'm slowly trying to have conversations with him, and I can't figure out why God put him in my life other than to witness to him. Who is it God's put in your life? Maybe it's a new kid in the neighborhood. Maybe it's a random new coworker. Maybe somebody got moved to your club team. Whatever it might be. Maybe it's a new kid in school that you know is not going to make it. They're probably going to get kicked out. They're probably only going to be here for a year. Maybe God put them sitting next to you in a classroom so you can witness to them. Figure out who that person is. Neighbors, coworkers, acquaintances, teammates, whatever it may be. Do not assume they'll just figure it out. Right? Have you ever thought about somebody and just be like, yeah, they'll figure it out? Somebody will witness to them. That somebody should be you. Now, they may not get saved due to your witness. You may not get to walk them through the plan of salvation and then go down and ask God to their heart. But their interaction with you should be something in their life that they can recall back on and say, I had a conversation about my eternal future with that person. People showed up, this is good, people showed up to Brother O'Leary's funeral because his life pointed somewhere. People came to a central location to be at his funeral because his life pointed them to Christianity. He impacted them, right? Number three, because we got to hurry. Something that really spoke to me is be faithful for the long haul. What do I mean by that? Brother Leary wasn't just faithful from the time he was a teenager to his 30. He wasn't just faithful from the time he was a teenager to his 40. His entire life, if you look through those pictures, listen to those people talk, his entire life, he was faithful. He didn't have seasons of life. He never turned it off and said, all right, I'm done working for the Lord. He literally, when he got too old to serve an active ministry at our church, to be where he could drive enough and be reliable enough to handle something, he went and just in his own mind started what he called the Main Street ministry. Because that's where Miss Kim let him drive. He could leave their neighborhood, he could drive up and down Main Street, he could come to the church. And he just started, he said, all right, I got this one drive. He started pulling off the road and hitting every single business. You know, you go and there was a guy at the funeral that changed Brother O'Leary's oil. He's a mechanic there. There was a lady that was at the office that he went to at the chiropractor. And he started what he called the Main Street ministry. He said, this is my mission field now. Where is your mission field? Is it your soccer team? Is it jiu-jitsu mat? Is it wherever you're working at? Whatever it is you're doing, wherever you live. Where does your ministry, and are you going to be faithful that, hey, when that ministry door closes, can't serve there anymore, you're out of that network, you find another one, or do you check the box and say, well, there was my years of service? When I'm too old and disconnected to work with teenagers anymore, I don't want to say, all right, well, that was it. It was a good run. No, I want to start working with somebody else. Whether that's the young adults, whether that's the middle-aged class, whether that's the senior saints. You never get done with ministry. I always get sad when I see older people retire and then they move away and they get out of church. You have more free time ever. That's when you should start serving God more. I always hate it when I see teenagers get out for school and then I don't see them all summer. You have more free time. You should serve God more in summertime. Now I know you're busy and you got things going on, but being faithful is a lifelong commitment. That's what Brother O'Leary did. Faithfulness over time leaves the deepest impact. We don't have time to turn there, but you can write down 1 Corinthians 4:2. It talks about being required that a man be found faithful. Right? I think that's going to be the first thing on the list when God judges us, right? Were you faithful? Were you there for the long haul? Galatians 6:9 says, let us not be weary in well-doing. It's easy to get tired. There's been stages of my life, especially when we first started having kids and work was busy. I was so close to asking Pastor, hey, can I just step down as the youth director? I'm busy right now. I'm tired. It's wearing me out. And somebody in the church at the perfect time came and talked to me and told me they loved me and to try to keep from getting weary and stay encouraged. And they recharged me. And I was glad I never had that conversation because I would have missed out on God's blessing. I'm not using me as an example. I'm just giving you a reason to think about. There's never a time to quit serving God. Maybe there's other things we have to pull out of our life to recharge us. But God never tells us to step away from serving Him. Now, God does call us to rest. God took Elijah out to the wilderness often to rest and to recharge. You do need moments of rest. You can't overextend yourself. But God never says, okay, you're good. You're done. You don't have to serve me anymore. God calls us to a lifetime of service. This is a quote I wrote down that I really liked. It says, impact, like making an impact on somebody, impact isn't built in moments. It's built in years, right? You know, when I spend time with a teenager, there's not a specific moment that I'm saying that's how I impacted their life. It's a compilation of time spent with them. It's a span of time of doing things with them where they know I loved them, right? Me and Rachel's marriage isn't built on moments. It's not like we went to dinner that one time we had a good marriage. It's the day in, day out, being kind to each other, serving each other, loving each other. That's how you have a good marriage, right? That's how you have a good impact on people. That you don't just say, well, I sat by them that one Sunday. I said hello to them that one Wednesday. No, it's every week deciding to be their friend, caring about them, loving on them. Sometimes that's the most important witness, is just repetitive, chipping away at it. A faithful life builds a powerful legacy. If you want to have a legacy one day, you have to be found faithful. You have to be faithful for a long time. Stay steady in church, right? Be faithful in church. Be faithful in your witness. Be faithful in your opportunities of leadership. Be faithful in your personal walk with God. Don't quit on those things when life gets hard, when your routine gets out of whack, right? It is so easy. It's so easy for me to do my devotions and read the Bible and pray on the routine days, right? When things go normal. Go to work, come home, put the girls down. That's easy. It's an easy day for me. But it's on the crazy days when I got to go to a funeral at 1 o'clock. I got family coming in at 6 o'clock. We got a party the next day, right? I failed yesterday. I didn't read my Bible. I didn't pray yesterday. Didn't find time to do that, right? I shouldn't say found. I failed to find time, right? Being faithful is in those moments still finding time to spend time with God, right? To witness to somebody, to love on somebody. Are you going to be faithful? Anybody can start strong. Few will finish faithful. Anybody can say, I'm going to be faithful, but will you finish faithful? One day we're going to all have our own funeral, right? Unless the Lord comes back, right? What will be said about you? If you live long enough, God tarries and doesn't come back before you die. Ask yourself this. What will people say about you? What will people say about you? Will they say that you loved people? That you were kind to people? I had kind of a good reflection to look at. A few months ago, I went to a funeral of somebody, no one that you know, but a funeral of somebody that was lived in the same community as Brother O'Leary, was in the same circle of people, had the same opportunities, died at 70 years old, and there was 11 of us at their funeral. 11 people found time on a Saturday to go pay their respects to this person passing. Then you had Brother O'Leary that had 500 people. I'm not knocking anybody's life. Everybody has different callings. But what is your life going to say about you? What will be said? Did he love people? Did you point people to Christ? Or did you point people to you and your needs and things about you? Will they say you were faithful? Will church members gather and your church family gather and say, man, we're thankful for them and what they did for our church? 2 Timothy 4:7, I have fought the good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Will you fight the good fight? Will you finish your course? Will you be faithful? A life that's worth living is a life that's pointing people to Jesus. If you haven't been doing it thus far, maybe today you make the decision that in every element of my life, I'm going to do my best to be a witness for Christ. Let's pray. We'll be dismissed. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us be a church today, Lord. Again, I just want to say thank you for Brother O'Leary. Thank you for all he meant to our church, Lord. How he loved each one of us and impacted so many of us. Lord, help it to be not only something we're grateful for, but also something that challenges us. Help us to just love people, to care about people, to take time for people, to be faithful, Lord, to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with those around us. Well, thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen.